guys, welcome back to Memorias Nómadas Podcast, your trusted bilingual podcast hosted by yours truly, Sayana. Thank you for dropping by for another episode here in my living room. Thank you for joining me in this fantabulous corner on the internet. Today I wanted to go about why I started all this project, which is my book. But before we dive into that, this is gonna be your friendly reminder to check that you follow us on social media, because that's the way that you can show me some love, and at the same time you can really help me survive corporate America. Please, a girl needs help. But yes, you can find us in social media and Instagram and TikTok as Memorias Nómadas Podcast, and you can watch our episodes and hear us as well in Spotify and YouTube. So let's talk about this fantabulous book that I cannot stop talking about. I don't know if it's my imposter syndrome or maybe the lack of media representation, I don't know, but every time I say I am writing a book, I feel like a crypto bro. And I know we don't know each other a lot, but you should trust me on that one, because I used to date that people. But that's another day story. So anyway, my book is or will be a compilation of chronicles of my Venezuelan friends around the world. But when I say my friends, I specifically refer to a group of people that went to the same university as I did. UCAP, if you are curious. But UCAP Guayana though, because there is a difference, but that is not a deep dive we're gonna do today. So now, you might think that is a bit harsh towards my most recent friendships to what I say. First of all, no. Second of all, once I heard this phrase that you make friendships by going through rough times and actually surviving and experiencing things with people and actually solve situations. Basically, if you go through hard times with people around you, those are the scenarios where you create deep friendships or whatever. Friendships. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but I'm dyslexic and I can do whatever I want. This is my podcast. But anyway, what I was saying is friendships are going to be created along your roughest times, most likely. And something that you will never stop hearing about is that I am Venezuelan. So if by any chance you have been blessed enough to not know this, but for the last maybe 26 years my country have been tortured by some idiots, but that's not, this podcast is not about them. This podcast, or what I wanted it to be, is about the people that, as me, have had to figure something drastic in order to ensure a future. You see, lately I have been reflecting a lot in how much my life has changed in the last 7 years. I'm in my 30s, so I cannot avoid to judge where am I or where I will be, or very much often, quite frankly, is what the fuck am I going to do. However, I don't think this is a predicament of my own. And also it's very evident that people is losing it about everything. However, going back to my book, my friends and I have had to sort a marathon of adversities in order to be where we are today. And unfortunately, I don't know if for good or for bad, there is always that lingering of what could have been, because the reality is that something very hard to deny is that we were wrapped in a catastrophe of political tragedy of some sort, and that has indefinitely changed the life trajectory of our life. There is no discussion about that. And also, I will be the first one to admit that I am one of the privileged ones. I won't lie. I don't need to lie about that. When I moved here, like I had a visa, I had the resources to sort it out in this country, like and figure out my arrival. But you see, that's exactly why it gives me the Lulu confidence to write this book. You see, because portraying the beauty and the tragedy of it, and yes, it sounds very dramatic, and I should probably bring the smallest violin in the world and cry, but that is not the vibe. I want to celebrate us because we have achieved so amazing. Like, we have overachieved everything we once we could think, like we could fathom. And I don't know, like for the longest time, that version of ourselves looked so distant. Like, it was completely out of reach. Like, our reality was so distant, like so completely years light different. Like, it's very hard to explain. Like, for example, I remember in my last relationship at university, to which every girly out there, the college guy has his own section in the burn book. To what I was talking about, like distance and dichotomy, in that time, I seriously, as you make an investment, like this is a very important decision. Like this was not like an outfit you were going to put one day. It was like I really need to wonder if in this relationship of some sort, immigrating together was kind of like a feasible option. And of course it wasn't. Like, duh, thank you, I know that now. But I mean, can you imagine such a surreal scenario that you cannot explore to being attracted to someone, because at the end of the day, if you both have to leave, because it's wild. It's like, for us, like leaving the country was like a very common thing. Like, we used to have parties about it, like every 15 days or maybe every week in some seasons. Like it was like a very lingering fact. Like, nobody was really out of that loop. So can you imagine like having to make that sort of exploration to whatever that means, because relationships are complicated? Do it with that scenario. Like, is it even worth the time, like, to do all this getting to know each other, if we, at the end of the day, we cannot live together, or we're never gonna see each other again? Like, and to be honest with you, it sounds more strange than what it actually is, okay? But I remember have this sort of conversation like very often with people, and hearing others saying the wildest things, like, oh, like he's going ahead, then we met together, oh, he will send me the money for my ticket. Girl, babes, was a tragedy, a real tragedy. I only know 2 couples that survived it doing that, but the rest, a cemetery of moral and religious teachings, let me tell you that. Also, in the same breath, like in the same notion of idea, I don't think it's also fair that everybody have to make these decisions under, like, these life-altering decisions with these conditions, because it was a shitty decision. For whatever you pick it, you were going to take the wrong decision. There is nothing to do about it. But, like, can you imagine, like, going just around thinking, oh, like, every interaction that I have with these people, they have, like, expiration dates. It's a very weird thing. But the truth is, something I have spoke a bit about in this podcast, is that those life-altering adversities changed you. And it only, of course, doesn't happen only to Venezuelans. Like, that's not what I'm trying to construe. but it happens to anyone that have to leave their country at the end of the day. Like we become different versions of ourselves, and that's fine though. However, another absurd thing that I used to do in those maybe my last 2-3 years of living in Venezuela was that I needed to plan my grocery shopping based on the days that the government used to allow me to buy certain items, such as, I don't know, like the basics, like flour, sugar, toothpaste, like deodorant, only on designated days of the week. I used to go to this pharmacy that we have back home called Farmatodo, which is a beautiful pharmacy, shout out, and waiting there for hours just to buy 2 sticks of deodorant, to move to a city where people think deodorant is optional. The comedy tells itself, let me tell you. Anyways, it's not that I'm trying to portray myself or my friends in some sort of heroic kind of a scenario. It's okay. Like, I think we're a group of people with a very particular life experiences, and for some reason magic of life occur and everything turned out to be fantastic. And please don't take me as a person that is trying to have it all figured out. I don't know anything. But sorry, circling back to my book, that kind of dichotomy, that's what I want to capture in the whole book. The distance from who we were and where we are now. And I think something I really brag about is to have very close relationships with people. Those kind of like friendships, for example, that you're just 2 text messages away of having like a very deep and meaningful conversation kind of friendships. But of course, like, adulthood is difficult, even for small adults like me. It's very time demanding, let me tell you. Of course, different time zones don't help at all. Long story short, this is why I'm writing this book, and it's a ton of work. On top of that, I have to work my 9 to 5. 7 to 3 actually, I have to admit, because I am the type of organized person that just prefers to get everything unpleasant out of the way very early in the day and then have the rest of the day for myself. However, I will admit that I have been slacking lately. And the reason is like the summer vibes are creeping in, and if you live in the city, you know that summer doesn't last too long, so might as well just embrace it. I have been going out a lot lately, okay? I will be upfront about that. And something I have noticed is that once you're outside your home, everything in your life starts looking differently. For example, I will be the first one to admit those coffee parties at the well are not my vibe. Like, it looks tight, like everybody's on top of each other, like everybody's moving around with the glasses, and I don't know, it's very chaotic to me. However, I did attend my first sober party, and honestly, it wasn't that bad. It was not bad at all. Actually, the music was great, the vibes were vibing. We had little things here and there. I took some cute pics. And of course, I'm still Latin at my core, okay? I still need some perreo at night, but I'm a reasonable person. I can do this every once, I don't know, 1-2 months, I think it's nice. It's very, very nice. Another quest I have taken upon this summer, like every other girl in 2025, is that I have been trying to get into matcha. But I'm sad to announce that I just can't. I want to so bad, and it's just not working. I spent my whole Thursday afternoon hunting a good place for matcha so I can actually do it, know what I need to taste, understand it so I can replicate it at home. But I end up wasting $15 on a drink that I did not like, and in this economy that feels like a war crime. But it was a beautiful drink, I will admit though. Like, I will try to put the picture somewhere. Like, I'm not trying to beef with the place where I got it. I want to be very clear about that. They were lovely and they were fantastic. The problem, it's me. I just can not get into that vibe, and I really, really want to. So if you have any suggestions, like real ones, please don't give me the "you haven't tried real matcha" excuse. Please drop it on the comments anywhere. You know where to find us. But anyway, like I said, leaving your house really makes you reevaluate your life. You see people doing the dumbest shit, and you feel weirdly good about your own situation. And something I have learned from that, and that I should probably bring up in therapy, is that I am someone who hear me out, can provoke envy. And I know I sound awful when I say that, but let me elaborate. Like, I don't mean it like in the typical way of a person that goes around avoiding responsibility because it's like, oh, you're just jealous of me. I don't mean that at all, okay? However, I don't mean, like, what I'm trying to say is that not always or intentionally, but people feel envy of the weirdest things. And it turns out I have to realize the things that people get envy from me about. I don't know if that's making sense. And I'm trying to say this with the highest level of responsibility. I know I am self-centered, okay? I'm not blind to that. But it's not that I think that, oh my god, everybody's jealous of me. I do think I am the shit, okay? And I was 33 years old when I noticed that quality, it's something that can make people feel icky. As Latin, I am very upfront. Like, for me, it's very easy to address like tensions and things. But now I understand that is not the case for a lot of people. Especially in North America, though. There are so many detours for people to take like tangents into avoid to have a direct conversation that is weird. And like a secondary thing that I noticed in that reflection and that self-growth that I'm just telling you about, I also notice that sometimes between women in their 30s or above, of course, things get complicated and competitive, but also it's not a clear competition, so you never know when you're running. So it's strange, but things can get competitive, I guess. But you see, I also have this incredible capacity of me that I'm very proud about, of not paying attention to anyone and just being like hyper focused on other things or things that I'm pleased. And I know this sounds like I'm trying to be like very insightful and profound, but no, that's not the thing. I'm just have done a lot of therapy and I'm painfully self-aware, and being self-aware often will get you into trouble. Anyway, by the time that you're watching or hearing this, I'm gonna be a survivor of my first corporate layoff. Thank you very much. We are achieving a lot in this podcast, as you guys see. You will believe that it's a relief that I survived it though. However, let me tell you, I got this mysterious invite on my email, right? And evidently, this is a meeting at 2:45 p.m. Okay? So evidently, I don't want to go. It's a Friday. I don't want to have a meeting. I want to finish my stuff and I want to leave home. Like, why? Like this should be a basic, but anyway. So in the best corporate manner, I reached out to my manager and I was like, hey, like, do I need to attend this meeting? And she was like, no, you can skip it. It's fine. I don't know what it is about. I was like, okay, perfect. Like, that's not weird at all. So slowly, I started noticing that management and HR is going around and they're like doing their, like, the little faces. And it's like, it's weird. So I left the office for a bit. Like, I went out and I was downstairs, like, I was like out, like, and trying to get some fresh air. In the meantime, like, another coworker comes and tells me, like, hey, did you get the invite for the same meeting? I was like, yeah, I got it. And panic started to rise. Like, that was the point where everybody was looking at each other as to, like, what's happening. So, and this is funny though, like, this is a funny remark. Apparently, everybody was told to stop working for this meeting, which is super odd because I work in an office where they micromanage bathroom breaks. So, trust me, like, no working was a big deal. Eventually, somebody says what everybody is thinking: we're getting fired. So I called my manager. And she has no idea. So she asked me to gossip my way into some information. So it's like, before I can actually do that, this ominous meeting starts. And it turns out that our client just pulled off their contract. So it was official. Layoff were happening. And they say, of course, the corporate jargon, oh, we're going to try to find you another positions inside the company, move you to a different team, what they need to say, okay? But you could not believe the shock in the audience. We were like, no way, crazy. But as any girlie will do, I called my boyfriend, and here is where being self-aware kicks in. I was so I was like, Jesus, I tasted a freedom that I craved for so long. And I was like, but also, I was so thrilled to see a mediocre group of people just to lose their personalities. Kidding, kinda. But then the panic kicks in, like, fuck, my rent. So, of course, we quickly try to come up with a plan, see what we're gonna do, like, for rent and stuff, like, whatever, between EI, severance, like, we can try to sort it out for a couple months. But once I spoke to him, I was so ready. Like, once I have, like, a little draft solution, it was like, I was so ready to stop waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning and eating my food from a container or going on the bus every fucking day. I was so ready that, you see, I hung up that call and I went back to that office with a smile because I might lose it all, but I will never lose my audacity. However, it turns out that 2 of my coworkers were terminated very quickly. Their termination date was set for next week after being 10 years their position. So it was very sad. And another coworker was moved to a different team. So I was like, okay, so we're doing this slowly. That's what I thought. Like, we're just ripping off heads, like, in order. Whatever. But long story short, I get another invite for another call in my email. I joined this call to find out that I have a few more months of employment in the same job while they phase out the campaign. And if they find another role, great. If not, I got time to prepare. I could not believe it. I even turn off the alarm on my phone. Like, how am I this valuable? Like, great, amazing, glad we had this talk. And you know what? Something I realized in that moment very tangibly, like almost in a corporeal way, was like, I'm not saving lives. I don't have a remarkable employment. I'm not trying to beef, okay? Like, works, they defy you. Like, I believe that, and I'm very grateful for the opportunities and the time, coworkers, like insert corporate charade here. You know what I'm trying to say? However, I'm ready for something more challenging, I guess, or I think my favorite option would be just to dedicate like full time to this podcast. However, it will take a little bit of planning, but that doesn't sound bad at all. And yeah, that is a nice certainty to have, to be perfectly honest with you. However, I think I have jabbed a lot, so I'm gonna wrap this up now. So thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you so much for supporting this space, because this is a true dream of mine, as everybody says these days. However, I'm not joking. So again, thank you so much for listening and for following. Please check us out on YouTube and Spotify. You can find us as Memorias Nómadas Podcast. Also, don't forget to check us out in Instagram and TikTok. We're trying to post like clips and little things about my life and everything I do. You can follow me on social media as well. You want to find me as Sayana on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you so much for hanging out. Don't miss it up. Thank you so much. Bye bye.